of a photographer who is starting out or who has just started out in the last 1 or 2 years, what would be your suggestion as a growth hacker if I'm starting new on Instagram right now? What should be my strategy to grow my audience on Instagram? Is there anything called a hashtag strategy? Do I need to post at least once a day or maybe 3, 4 times a week? Hey Rohan,
Hello.
before we come to the actual questions which I have in my mind, I want you to, introduce yourself, what you do, how your journey has been in the industry so far, because you are the first guest who is not a photographer. So not many people will be knowing much about you. So just give us a little brief about what you have done, what sort of a clients you're working with right now.
So according to audience.com, which is IBM and Twitter's partner product, they call me, the India's most followed growth hacker. Last year, I launched my book called The Growth Hacking Book, which became an international bestseller in 9 countries. This year, I'm launching it again with people from 20 countries, thereby, trying to propagate my growth set movement across these 20 countries. I've helped companies like Red Bull, UNESCO, Uber, political clients like BJP, and a lot of people in the senior roles in, companies like Kalyan Jewelers, Flipkart, come to me for their personal branding suggestions and, related work.
So when you say all these clients, like these are very high profile clients. So what exactly is growth hacking? Let's say in terms of Flipkart, and then there is UNESCO, and then there is a political party. So what is at a macro level? What is your role as a growth hacker?
So for everyone, the work would be different, but then the same the one same common thread between all of them is, finding the fastest way possible to grow these companies. Grow in the sense that for every company there is a different North Star metric. So let's say, for example, for you as a photographer, your one metric that you could be chasing is, how many clients you could get or qualified clients you could get. So every company has their own, list of things that they want to chase, and then I strategize what is the fastest way possible to chase that particular metric in least possible resources and least possible time.
I'll give you a very typical scenario of a photographer who is starting out or who has just started out in the last 1 or 2 years. So he's a wedding photographer. He doesn't have much of a Facebook following or a Twitter following or even an Instagram following. He doesn't have a very elaborate wedding portfolio. Like, he hasn't done many weddings in the city or in the country, maybe 10 or 15 weddings. So what would be your suggestion as a growth hacker for that sort of a wedding photographer who has just started out?
All right, so I think I would start by recommending um, to have all the digital assets made, your website, all your social media platforms, even those platforms which you think that you do not need. Probably, something like YouTube, which a lot of photographers may not be on. So image sharing platform is, most preferable. But then when you see and have a closer look at these platforms, you will find that it's already saturated with so many photographers. So you
Hmm.
may want to move on to somewhere where there is less competition, and a channel or digital medium where the other photographers did not see there was a possibility to connect with your prospects. The second would be to establish some sort of credibility and authority. This could be in form of your those 10, 15 initial clients. They may have said good things about you. They may have given you video testimonials, written testimonials, testimonials on your LinkedIn, or just anything that shows that you really know what you do. The third could be establishing your thought leadership. So you may want to give very simple tips to normal, like let's say if you are a photographer and you give me very basic photography tips to a regular person like me who has no clue of what is photography, videography. So I would think like, okay, this person actually has some knowledge about this, and the next time someone is getting married, married, I would think of you because you taught me something very basic, which at least I did not know. So you would, want to have that thought leadership among your audience that could potentially be your prospect, and also among your photography friends as well. Because let's say if you were in, I am in Mumbai, you are in Pune, and if I have a project in Mumbai, I could, let's say we both are photographers. If I have a project in, let's say, Pune, and I could not travel, I would say that, you may want to get my prospect, work with them. I would give this as a referral to you. So you may also want to be, popular and interconnected among your own community. The fourth strategy would be to tie up with people in the same space. So let's say your expertise is wedding photography, but then when Indians weddings happen, there is so much more going on, more than photography and videography. There are so many vendors involved, the decors and the venues and all of that. So you could have exclusive partnership and tie-ups with these venues. Let's say if you become your the recommendation for all the venues in your city, where will all the other photographers go? And usually it happens that a lot of people who really have budgets are looking for one particular a wedding planner or someone who could just point them to the best possible resources. They don't go on to hunt each vendor individually. So you can also be friend with all the wedding planners in your city. So there are a lot of tie-ups and partnership opportunities that you have as a photographer. So essentially what I'm trying to say, if you see a common theme in all my suggestions and recommendation, it's only two things: one, exploring unexplored territories of digital mediums, and
True.
the second is relationship building. Because essentially you are in a business where most of your business is driven by long-term clients, like who repeatedly come to you, and second, who repeatedly refer people to you. Someone really wants to establish their presence as a prominent photographer in in their city, in their state, in their nation, or what the world. They have to really do like think of them as not just as an individual, no longer just like as a photographer, but really as a public figure, where they position themselves as an authority in the space. And then even if you hike your prices, or you essentially become bigger than the platforms that try to sell you. So
Hmm.
that's what one should be aiming at. And I think you do a, fantastic job with that, with the kind of exposure you have, the coverage you have, the kind of understanding you have. I went through some of your materials. You were suggesting photographers to do SEO, and and which photographer talks about that? No one. You're the only person saying and endorsing that. So I think you seem so much ahead of your game, and I think everyone should strive to be that way.
So tell me, if I'm starting new on Instagram right now, right, and I am a wedding photographer, so what should be my strategy, to grow my audience on Instagram, which is already kind of saturated, and maybe algorithms are also not that friendly what they were, initially maybe 5 years back. So what would be your suggestion to that photographer?
Sure. I think so. If you want to demystify any platform on social media, I mean, on the internet, all social media have this very common theme and pattern. And this you can apply on any platform, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So the only four steps to follow here is: first, identify which platform you want to be on. In this case, Instagram. The second one would be identify the key actions on the platform. How I define key actions is, what would you do to send notifications to your possible followers? Let's say, for example, if you were in a real world and you wanted to network with people, you would go and talk to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or else you would give them a reason to come and talk to you. Similarly, in the digital space, you want to give them a reason to come to you, or you want to go to them and start talking. So what I would do if I'm just starting out on Instagram, I would just, let's say, again, giving the example that, let's say if I'm in Mumbai and I'm trying to connect with all the people in Mumbai, I would go to my location, which Instagram has a fantastic location mapping. I would go to any location, explore it, and find the photos that are tagged under specific locations. And
Okay.
then I'll start engaging with these people. Engaging in the sense that liking their pictures, following them, commenting, just engaging with people who potentially look like, who you would be interested in, or they could possibly benefit from your services. Maybe not now, but sometime in the future.
Okay.
And then performing actions that only sends notifications to people. So let's say, for example, if you follow or like someone's photo on Instagram, it sends them a notification. However, if you follow a hashtag, let's say wedding photography on Instagram, it is not sending notifications to anyone. That you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it for, your personal preference of the feed. So you want to perform actions that sends notifications to people. The reason I say that is because then these people are going to check the notifications, check your feed. If your feed looks beautiful, and they have these, aspirations of having the same kind of photography sometime in the future, they might
Mm-hmm.
want to follow you because either they get inspired by a photography work, or they just like seeing the kind of good photos that you post, or potentially just want to keep in touch because they think that you are a local photographer from their city, so why not just be in touch with this. So
Okay.
you can use some kind of, there are many online tools that help you design your feed in advance and then publish the post automatically from their desktop app or browser app.
Mm-hmm.
The second would be to either perform actions yourself, or if you're a really busy person and you're not able to do it yourself, you can have a virtual assistant who could keep engaging with people in your local city or wherever you want to be known.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, the fourth step is to identify actions that are giving you the ROI of your time. So let's say, for example, if I'm spending about 30 minutes per day
Mm-hmm.
engaging with my, you know, prospects, just trying to see what kind of photographs they have and just introducing me to them, maybe once in a while texting them and sending a message, or just posting some nice guides and tips about mobile photography, which people can try it at their homes and whenever they are in need of. And the call to action could be, if they are in any need of professional photography, you can come to me. So this way, this helps you build trust among your people and potentially position you as the photographer that everyone in the city knows about. So you have to analyze and see, what key actions are giving you the results that you want: more followers, more leads, or more engagement. And based on that, see which actions you want to do more of and which actions you want to discontinue doing. So be it any platform, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Quora, any platform has just these four steps of growth, and there's nothing more outside of this. So I think anyone who's just starting out on Instagram just needs to follow these four steps religiously.
Is there anything called a hashtag strategy, or is it like a old thing now?
So hashtags really used to work well, but then over time it just deteriorated in value because a lot of people just started using it for the sake of getting engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So now what I would suggest is, if you're using hashtags, try to use hashtags naturally in your sentences so
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't look like, I don't know, if there is any specific Instagram algorithm about deciding, whether or not hashtags to be, effective. But what I have found is, if I write my captions using hashtags naturally in my sentences, the post tends to perform well. And if I just post 30 hashtags at the bottom of the post just with the hope that because of the hashtag the post will get discovered, it doesn't happen. So my suggestion is to try to put hashtags naturally in your sentences. So let's say if you say I'm a wedding photographer, I would maybe put some hashtag wedding photographer instead of writing it has two different words. So you want to try to use hashtags naturally in your sentences. The second is, um, try to, let's say if you're using hashtags at the end of your post or in the comment section, try to segregate hashtags in three different categories. One is your own branded hashtag. So let's say if you have a brand name, or if you are known as your own first name last name, So try to make that as a hashtag. So all the posts that you make or all the posts that are about you would have that hashtag. So that is called branded hashtag. The second is less competitive hashtags, which means that hashtags in your niche, let's say photography, which are related to your niche but are not as competitive. So how to find less competitive hashtags
Mm-hmm.
is that when you search for hashtag, it shows you how many posts are under that hashtag, right? So if you see less number of posts, so let's say anywhere between 10K to 100K is fine. Those I would categorize as less competitive hashtags.
Okay.
And the third category is to describe what photograph it is. So maybe the photograph has some objects in it, so you can use those hashtags. Maybe there is a kind of camera that you use that you want to tag. So let's say if I have Canon, I would put something related to Canon related hashtag. So people looking for Canon quality videos or photos can actually discover me sometime in future. So the three categories, just to summarize, is first something related to the content, 10 hashtags. The second would be related to hashtags that are less competitive, but
Mm.
related to the photos that you have on your feed. And the third would be something related to your own brand, either your name or your company name, but something that represents you. So these are the three categories of hashtags I would recommend.
So where should we put all these three categories of kind of 30 hashtags? So do we put it in the description or we put it
So
in three
it
different
doesn't it
comments?
doesn't have to be 30. Let's say if you are able to naturally fit 10 to 15 hashtags in your caption
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it does not look like, it shouldn't look, the caption shouldn't look ugly because you used a lot of hashtag. So just use it naturally. And let's say if you want to put more, then of course you can put at the end of the caption or in the comment section. But my highest recommendation would always be to use hashtags in sentences naturally, because this is just this is not something that Instagram came to us and told us about this. But I just have this feeling that people who are using hashtag just as a means to spam with an expectation that their post will get discovered are usually the ones that do not see any traction from the hashtags. The people who use hashtags naturally in their sentences are the ones that actually see tractions from hashtags.
So it is actually going on the same ideology of what on Google works, right? So Google, let's say
Right,
if you want to make an article, best wedding photographer of India, and if you start stuffing that keyword everywhere,
right,
Google is not going to even rank in the top 100 also, like the top 100 listings. So all you have to
right,
do is, again, I guess you have to be very creative in writing your descriptions and captions, and then try to come up with the hashtags naturally in the description, and avoid
right,
uh, things which look spammy or forced
right.
upon the user experience.
Right, right. I think the keyword here is actually user experience. You said it very well, because it's very easy for everyone to just copy a bunch of 30 hashtags and use it as a means to increase the reach. Why would a platform reward you for doing that? It's outright spammy. But
Mhm.
if you're taking time to really use relevant hashtags that are naturally roped into your sentences, that itself elevates the user experience on the app, and that action should be rewarded. And I think that's why posts with hashtags naturally in sentences work well. So
Yeah,
this is
correct.
just a hypothesis. It's not that I'm saying that Instagram says this. This is my hypothesis, working with all the brands like Red Bull, Kalyan Jewelers. All these people that I've worked with on their Instagram have seen this happen. And especially since you come from a photography background, and these companies are into fashion and stuff. So I know this niche is so overexploited with hashtags and
Correct.
everything that it has just stopped working for everyone.
Mhm. And I remember you mentioned very similar strategy in your first book. I guess it was launched last year, 2 years back, where you have specifically mentioned about having four or five set of hashtags. You don't repeat the same set of hashtags in every post.
Right, right. I think that is also again another uh, uh, point that I missed on is that if you repeatedly use a hashtag, so there was this concept of shadow ban, which was not true. So people thought because they repeatedly use a hashtag, they might get shadow banned. They
Hmm.
do not get shadow banned. Instagram also confirmed there is nothing like shadow ban. It's an imaginary concept that Instagram thought leaders and so-called experts have created out of their own mind. It's nothing like that. But the idea here is to not be spammy on the platform, and that's why it is encouraged that you do not use the same hashtags over and over, because your pictures are going to be different, right? So like I suggested, there are three categories of hashtags, and in the first one that I told you that you want to add hashtags that are related to your picture. So how can all the pictures be same on your feed? It won't be, right? So that's why the hashtags are going to change. So I think that's the templatized way of going forward.
And another question which is in my mind is that, like, based upon the experiments you do with a lot of clients, is there something called frequency of posting on Instagram? Like, does it matter, or you can post whenever you feel like and whatever you feel like?
Okay, so there are two things. One is just being carefree and posting anytime. That is good, if you're overly artistic person, you might want to do that so that you don't restrain yourself from being artistic. But at the second, and if you're on the second side, if you're looking it as a business and a serious business, you may want to be a little bit more strategic about what you post and how you post and when you post. So I would suggest looking into your Instagram insights. It tells you which days are better. It tells you what time is better. So you can actually always, go with what they are suggesting. So let's say for me, it shows every weekend from 6 to 9 is the best time for me to post. So I follow that.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing about posting was people getting confused between consistency and frequency. So a lot of marketers would say, you have to be consistent with your posts, but they are not suggesting you to be very frequent.
Okay, so if we have to simplify it, frequency and consistency. So do I need to post at least once a day, or maybe three, four times a week is sufficient? So how do I come to a conclusion? Because even there are no set rules, right?
Right,
अभी रोज ही डालना है. It's not it is not written anywhere. It is that these are the strategies which keep on changing, evolving with time. Something which was working 6 months back may not work now. Like hashtags
right,
we talked about. 2 years back it was working very fine, but now people have started abusing it as not working. You need to have a business profile on your Instagram, not the personal profile, because otherwise you won't get the insights.
right.
So go to your business profile, go to insights, find out the timings when most of your followers are online, right, and post at that time. So that gives you the answer when you should post. But
Post.
how about the frequency? How do I decide, how frequently should I post?
So I would say the simple answer is, a lot of advice on the internet would be something like post once a day or something like that. I would not agree to that, because as a growth hacker, I want to be data driven. I really want to have this backed by data, that when exactly to post. So let's say, for example, if I have less than 5,000 followers on a platform, why would I post multiple times a day when only a small section of people are watching? These people are likely to be from the same demographic, geographic location. So I
Mm,
don't want to flood with a lot of posts. But let's say when I cross 10K, 20K, 100K people, the audience would be so diverse that I could actually be posting multiple times a day. So I
okay.
could be posting once in the morning, afternoon, and the night. So depending on the size of the audience, you want to decide the frequency. The second is you want to try it for yourself. Try posting initially once a day, then try posting on alternate days, and then try posting on once in 3 days, and see which one gets more engagement and which has better reach. So now, and another argument could be that because you're posting frequently, your reach and engagement might go down, but then it's fine. You're at least posting a lot of updates, so it will balance out. Balance in the sense that, let's say, one post watched by 1,000 people versus three posts watched by 500 people each. So if you, the cumulative of that is 1,500 versus you comparing that with one post that is of 1,000 people. So the idea here is to, again, how frequently you want to be in front of your audience, and how comfortable your audience is to see you time and again. The reason for identifying this is important is because what Instagram does is, based on your previous post's engagement, it decides what would be the reach of the future posts. So let's
Okay.
say if your previous post was seen by, let's say, 1,000 people, so based on that, they are going to decide if your post has to appear on the top for the other people who have already engaged with you, either in the feed or in the stories or in the direct messages. So you want to be careful of, how your audience is responding, and you may want to have some data backed um, suggestions for yourself, that what exactly works for you. There is no one expert going to tell you something and you're going to blindly follow it, because your audience is different, the time zone they live in is different, the country and city they are from is different. So you have to be, very particular about what they are choosing to like.
So tell me how to integrate Instagram stories into your strategy.
Actually, to collaborate with people in your industry. So maybe if you think it doesn't, so if you're very sure that your niche is wedding photography, you can, always give shout outs to some corporate photographer. And this, if this person is really sure of his niche, he can give shout outs to you as a wedding photographer. So you can always collaborate with people as well, if you're not competing with each other.
Okay, so all these shout outs which we see on Instagram stories are actually part of the natural looking engagements, right? So because
Yeah,
I
so
have
I,
seen
I
this.
would actually do that. I would actually do that. So some of my friends, I just want to support them. So we have this understanding and arrangement that once in a week I'm going to say good stuff about you on my stories, and you're going to reciprocate that.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is quite interesting because I have actually personally seen it. A lot of photographers giving a shout out for some reason or the other to their, you can call them as competitors, right? That if I am a wedding photographer, you're also a wedding photographer. They are giving a shout out to those to them for one
Right,
reason or the other, and then probably they are also reciprocating at some other time with, okay, he gave me a shout out, so now it
right.
is my job to give a shout out. So that helps in engagement, like when you tag other influential people or
Right,
handles
right.
in your
And
story.
let's say if there is an influencer, like let's say if you're just starting out as a photographer, and it is impossible for you to, get in touch with a celebrity photographer. So you can always, write something flattering about the, feed post that they may have, share it in your story, write whatever good stuff you want to write. And then Instagram allows this feature where if you have tagged someone in your story, they can repost that on their stories, right? So that is
Mm.
one way to get shout outs from influencers, even if they do not want to, because then you're complimenting them, they like it and they want to share it with their followers that see what other people are talking about me. So this is one way to, get shout outs from bigger accounts or bigger influencers. Not something that I recommend, because I mean, of course, if you're doing it, you have to do it genuinely and honestly. But yeah, this is of course one way to go about it. One last thing I would say is, having specific highlights on your profile
Mm-hmm.
and trying to make it like a sequence of stories. So let's say if I shoot black and white photos consistently, I would have a highlight reel on my profile where I keep putting all the black and white photos. So that would be like, a series kind of post, but running on my stories. So which would be interesting for people who are following for a long time, because then over time they would realize that, okay, this person actually has multiple series that runs on his stories.
So basically, it's all about being creative and trying to get an engagement from your followers. So they shouldn't be your silent followers, right? That's what you are
Right,
actually trying to say in the broader sense. Like they shouldn't be
right,
following you quietly. You have to trigger them for some sort of a response, either through like, comment,
right.
share, save the picture, or like you said, Instagram stories. They could respond to your questions. So it's more about engaging them. What we do in the real life, right? Nobody
Right.
likes a person in a party who is just standing there silently. They, a person who is more social would be more
Right.
popular in the group, right?
Right. And virtually it becomes even more easier. Even if you are an introvert, it's just easier to do all that virtually.
Thank you so much, Rohan, for giving your valuable time. It was really helpful, and I hope people could implement all these strategies and maybe see some traction on their Instagram accounts. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.